Filipino version in the description.
Schizo.
The last war between the Moniyan Empire and the forces of darkness in the Barren Lands ended with a victory for the Empire. The Imperial Knights, including Tigreal as well as other soldiers, successfully exterminated the demons, sowing chaos in the southern part of the Empire. The whole Moniyan Empire celebrated this victory, but in the memory of young Alucard, this was a sad and bitter event. Alucard's father is part of the 2nd Regiment. This group suffered the most casualties in the war, and Alucard's father was one of those who disappeared in the battle and is believed to be one of the casualties of war. The command center of the Empire claimed that the 2nd Regiment allegedly did not follow orders and just rushed in at will, and because of this, the Empire did not honor the sacrifice of the 2nd Regiment. Instead, they were accused of treason and lack of discipline in the military service. And since then, the people have lost respect for the 2nd Regiment. Alucard was greatly affected by these allegations because he thinks highly of his father. For Alucard, his father was a hero who was his idol and role model and dreams of following in his footsteps someday. Alucard was constantly teased and ridiculed by the people because of his father. This gradually ignited the anger inside his heart. His determination to clear his father's name and eliminate all demons in the land of Dawn grew stronger. And so he fled and went to the Monastery of Light. And since Alucard was the son of a high-ranking soldier, he was accepted by the monastery. The Monastery of Light is an orphanage where their adopted children are trained in combat, assassinations, and hunting demons. In the years that followed, Alucard learned a variety of fighting styles, and because of his natural talent and intense determination, Alucard easily became one of the strongest fighters within the monastery. Tigreal, a former companion of Alucard's father in the 2nd Regiment, often visited Alucard to teach him advanced combat techniques. He often mentions to Alucard stories about his father's bravery and courage. During this time, Tigreal was the leader of the Imperial Knights, and his name was already known and famous throughout the Moniyan Empire. Alucard has great admiration and respect for Tigreal, whom he considers his older brother. However, whenever Alucard asks about the last war that killed his father, Tigreal just keeps quiet with a pale look in his eyes. Alucard could not believe that his father had died in the war. He has a strong feeling that his father is still alive somewhere needing help. Alucard was 18 years old when he finished his training at the monastery. Tigreal persuaded him to stand as the arbiter of light, and he was tasked with hunting and eliminating demons that have scattered all over the world. Using his father's sword, which Tigreal gave him, Alucard began his mission. In the name of his father and his hatred for demons, Alucard became known as the most ruthless demon hunter in the world. One day, while he was on a mission in the Barren Lands, Alucard encountered a demon armed with a weapon wrapped in black magic. He defeated the demon but was wounded by its weapon, and the wound it caused could not be healed. An evil black aura poured out from the wound, and his right arm mutated and started to look like a demon's arm. To prevent the mutation from spreading throughout his body, he enlisted the help of a blacksmith, who made him a special pair of gauntlets. The blacksmith noticed Alucard's sword and realized that Alucard's father was one of his former comrades in the 2nd Regiment. The blacksmith then recounts the true story of the war in which his father was killed, why they rushed in too deep into the enemy's camp and became surrounded by enemies. This turned out to be the command of the high-ranking Imperial Knights who were part of the command center, and that these high-ranking officers were greedy for victory and fame, and so they tried to end the battle immediately, which resulted in the 2nd Regiment being pinned down. At that time, everyone was desperate. Alucard's father decided to stay with some soldiers to fight and buy time for the rest of their battalion, which was led by Tigreal, to escape. It was a heavy decision for Tigreal to retreat and leave their other comrades behind. After learning the truth, Alucard returned to the Moniyan Empire and confronted Tigreal, and he asked why he didn't tell him what really happened to his father. Tigreal can clearly see the anger on Alucard's face, and so Tigreal told him everything, how his conscience swallowed him up and tormented him because of his decision to abandon his comrades, and also his silence on the truth about what happened to the 2nd Regiment in order to protect his family's reputation. Tigreal expressed his remorse for what happened. He wants to make up for the mistake he made to Alucard's father, and he is even willing to give his own life if necessary. However, in the extreme anger and confusion inside Alucard's heart and mind, he attacked Tigreal. But in the end, Alucard was unable to kill the man he once considered his brother. But he also cannot forgive Tigreal. Alucard asked the Empire officials to expose the truth of what happened in the 2nd Regiment and clean up his father's tarnished reputation. However, the high-ranking Imperial Knights involved with the cover-up has now become prominent figures, and they have a strong influence in the Moniyan Empire, so they rejected Alucard's request, and he was expelled from the capital. This infuriated Alucard. In addition to this, the Monastery of Light has made a huge deal about the demonic hand of Alucard. They shunned Alucard and even called him a heretic. Alucard's reason for fighting was his hatred for demons and the restoration of his father's honor and reputation. But now that he knows the truth about the Empire's betrayal of his father, and at the same time, the monastery where he grew up rejected him, Alucard decided to just completely turn his back on the Moniyan Empire and from now on to fight only for himself. In the years that followed, Alucard continued to scour the Land of Dawn, destroying all the demons he comes across, all the while continuing to search for his father. His demonic right hand gave him strength and power, but this power is unstable and difficult to control, so he always kept it hidden inside his armor. Over time, Alucard became known as one of the most powerful warriors in the Moniyan Empire. Even the demons are terrified of the demon hunter with the demonic right hand. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you wish to see more of this content. My name is Kizzo, Lord of Lords.